Coming up on today's episode of the SaaS School podcast.
Marketing is a part of everything that we do. It is not just one thing, one function, one activity. So in a way, to be crude, I would say it's like the aloo that goes into every sabzi, right? So marketing is aloo.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's explore how growth, product, and customer success work together across SaaS companies. Welcome to the SaaS School podcast. And here's your host, Abhinav Arora. Abhinav, the stage is yours.
Howdy, good folks. Welcome to yet another episode of the SaaS School podcast. Today, I have someone really senior with me. He's got 2 decades worth of career in
It's called
marketing.
ancient, not senior.
Okay, cool. We've got an ancient fellow sitting. What does it say? The older the wine, the finer it is?
I hope so.
Something like that. Okay. Random compliment. But okay, fantastic. Srini, you want to tell audience about yourself? What do you do?
I'm Srini, Srinivas, you can call me Srini. So I run marketing for Gupshup. So as he was mentioning, I've been around for more years than I care to count. And I've been working with a lot of tech companies, large and small, helping them grow with marketing.
From what I know of Gupshup, Gupshup is one of the biggest and finest case studies of SaaS in India, software as a service in India. And you having made it there as VP marketing of a digital first company after 20 years of career gives me a sense that you've kept fine with the times. You've been doing fine for your age.
It's like surfing the waves, man. I think when I started out, we would, it felt like a completely different era, right? And now I think I feel like I've been through 2-3 different eras, like the IT services era, the product innovation era from India, the web-based, the internet era, and now the SaaS era. I feel like a surfer.
That actually gave me an idea. Why don't you turn into a history professor today? And I have some, elementary questions of marketing, how I've seen it in the old desk books and how I see it being executed right now.
Okay.
Walk me through what's changed and what's not changed. So marketing, for the longest time that I've read about it, is about this weird funnel, which is fatter on the top and not so fat on the bottom. And you put 100 prospects in there from the top. And towards the end, you'll get 10 or 12 leads/customers. You pass them on to sales. And then they turn that 10 into further lower number, that's 3 or 4. And those 3 or 4 people you get, and that's your conversion rate. You've put 100 people, 3 people you get, your conversion rate is 3%. If 3% works fine for you, mathematically.
Have you been looking at my marketing plans?
Is that what it is?
No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, that's what I've been seeing. Is that it? Is this process applied to any industry, what's called marketing?
No, that's all we have time for. No, I'm just kidding. No, there's a lot more to marketing than what is commonly perceived. Cool. So the funnel physically is a very rigid structure that has a wide start and a narrow finish, but it has a very definite end point. And what happens is, because marketing has sort of been slotted just as sales has, and support and customer success has, into different functions, there are these very rigid start and end points between functions. Right. So what happens with market? What has happened?
Like my role ends here, sales role starts here, and I go back to doing the same drill with other
sales role
customers.
starts here, sales ends there.
Then customer
support
success
starts there, and then
God knows goes on till as long as the customer's there.
Exactly. So marketing has, for many decades operated in that sort of a mode. So the problem with the funnel is that the funnel has an end point, right?
Okay.
And that is the limiting factor of a funnel. So that is like, once that person emerges from the funnel,
he's a customer.
I'm gone. Like, I'm done with my job.
Yeah.
So it's your problem.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. What's wrong with that is that it's very self-serving. Self-serving in the sense, every function then looks at it's like someone's looking at you and just a part of you. That I'm going to serve just a part of you today, and the rest of you I don't really care about. Okay. And that comes from companies being divided into functions, and that is there today, and that will continue as well. But the functional view of marketing sort of makes it end at that point where you warm someone up to the extent that they're ready to work with you, and then you hand them over even before sales to someone like an SDR or an inside sales representative who then takes it forward.
Right.
And then what happens after that? Like 6 months later, you go to the sales guy and say, "Hey, can I get a testimonial from you?
Sure.
Because I want to warm few other people up to take a similar."
Correct.
Now that for me is the old way, the ancient way.
But that's like 70 to 80% of companies even now.
So they're wrong. That's what I would say.
Okay.
or it's incomplete if you just look at it purely from a point of view of a funnel. Instead of a funnel, I think what we should look at is a full life cycle view of the customer. Think of it more like a continuum. Think of it not in terms of the way your company is organized, because companies have to be organized one way or another. But think of it more in terms of the way the customer's journey is taking place. We must start by building customer journeys or designing customer journeys, and then figuring out how various functions play roles within the journey. And marketing has a role to play right through the journey.
So clear this out for me. Am I never letting go of the customer? Like me never letting go of the customer, sales guy never letting go of the customer, customer success never letting go of the customer. Is this like three different people holding the same customer from different angles, one holding the hand?
It's not
What's
holding.
really happening?
You're more like let's look at it like you're a co-traveler, right, with the customer. Typically what happens is you have, let's say, a group of 3 or a group of 4.
Sure.
You have sales, customer success, marketing, solution architect, depending on how complex your solution is. You have a group of 3 or a group of 4 who are sort of with the customer from the time that they were even a prospect, when they was just warming up to start working with you, when you pitch something to them, when you propose something to them, and then you stay with them throughout. And now I'm talking, if you break it down into more granular steps, I'm talking about onboarding, I'm talking about usage, I'm talking about problem solving, consulting, right? And expansion. Sometimes you don't have to even wait for the end of the renewal cycle to expand.
Hey, but doesn't customer success do all that? Because when you talk about customer success, of course, it's for the success of the customer, but there is also a business goal attached to it.
Correct.
That is, as a customer success manager, my job role is to find opportunities to sell more within that customer's organization, to ensure that customer uses as much as he's supposed
Very
to.
true.
But where are you plugging marketing in here?
So marketing is a partner even to customer success.
Okay.
So let's say onboarding is a very important part of a customer success job. So how can marketing make onboarding more interesting, more engaging? Like, can we come up with some ideas to make it better? Another job of customer success is to ensure that the product features are, depending on whether if you run a consumption business model, consumption takes place, or features are used that customers are aware of everything. So even there, marketing can play a role. What I'm saying is that marketing has a role to play. In some areas, it's a primary role, like right at the top of the funnel, as we speak, or the start of let's call it the start of the journey.
Right.
But as the journey progresses, then marketing becomes more of a partner with sales, with CSM, with solution architects. And then it's a kind of a virtuous cycle.
So where do you want me to exert more influence? What are you struggling with?
Yeah.
Where can I help?
Where can I help? And there are many, many areas where. And the thing is, a lot of people don't think about marketing beyond that early part, when you create awareness, you create interest, and you just hand over somebody. So marketing has a huge role to play even after the sale is done. Like we call that customer marketing, where you sort of go in and you treat an account as a segment of one, and you work with your colleagues and you ensure that the customer is getting maximum value out of, and more people within that account are realizing that value and coming to you to engage more. So that's another area where I feel that marketing's potential has not been used. Like, I used to work for an edtech company where we used to have an event, and it used to be fun. We used to get people together. We would have fun and games, quizzes, just to get them excited about the fact that, hey, we have this new service available, and it's open to all of you. Come and start using it. And then it gets into the usage, right? It's not enough also just to onboard and say, okay, bye, I'll see you a year down the line for when I want to renew. You have to figure out how people are using your product or your service. If it's a consumption-based model, are they consuming enough? Like, what are the drivers for consumption? How can I help my customer success manager connect with more and more people within the customer organization so that they understand all the drivers, all the forces that are at play there, giving them enough value to ensure that they always consider you to be your trusted partner, to be their trusted partner. And they come to you more and more, not less and less.
So what you're doing is you're always influencing the customer to reach the next level. And that next level could also be not churning, not falling out of the brand, not moving away from the brand, which makes me feel that there is an aspect of marketing that's involved in retaining the customer. Mm-hmm. And then obviously, as you said, expansion, as in selling more to that customer, different offerings to that customer, next tier to that customer, right. Ensuring that the customer uses the product to its optimum so that he reaches in the next tier. and not reach it if he doesn't have to.
Right.
So I want some examples. Is this retention marketing, or there's a different word that you guys are using for this?
Well, there's no specific term for it. I think it's more about customer marketing is what I would call it.
Customer marketing.
With customer marketing, it's all about marketing to people who already bought your service, who
Got
are
it.
already on board, right?
You're marketing to people who've already purchased.
Yeah, so it's not counterintuitive anymore. It may seem counterintuitive, but it's really about how do you keep that relationship going with the customer. Like, I'll give you an example. One of my most rewarding experiences is sitting together with a group of customers in a completely neutral environment and just getting to know them as people, right? So, for example, in one of the companies I worked for, we had a customer event in Budapest, in Hungary. It's quite an exotic location, and these were all European customers, and they valued going there. And we were sitting there on the banks of the Danube, going on the Danube, visiting the Buda Castle, and not really talking about the work, right? Now, what do you call that? Like, if I spent an X number of dollars on that, a CEO might ask, you should have spent that amount of dollars on
Advertising.
getting a bunch of new people there.
Yeah.
Why existing customers?
Yeah.
But the thing is that the value that you get out of strengthening your relationships and them telling you more of their problems that you can solve adds great value to the business. It's just a way of thinking. I just want to call it out as a way of thinking, because you can very well do customer marketing through focused events. Like you can also do customer marketing by creating digital experiences that are very personalized. Let's say if somebody from a customer organization visits your website without knowing that they're already your customers, can you create a more personalized experience for them? That, hey, you're already our customers. Let's take you to a page, or let's take you to the products that you're already using us for. So it's not just sales, not just CSM. Sometimes it's even with support. Sometimes you're trying to assuage an upset customer. Sometimes a customer gets upset with you. And so I'll tell you an interesting story. This is one of my, I wouldn't take names, but we were trying to really renew this account. It's a big account. Not my current company, but somewhere in the past. So the decision maker had changed, right? So we were trying to connect with this new decision maker. The old one had sort of transitioned out. And no matter what the sales team did, he was not giving us time of day. So that was a time when Bahubali 2 had released. Okay, it's funny, but it did its job. So Bahubali 2, you remember the kind of buzz on who killed Katappa or Katappa killed who, whatever it was. And so we organized a series of shows across India. Like first day, first show for some of our customers.
Okay.
I just took a chance. I had that gentleman's email ID and I said, look, I have 2 tickets to Bahubali 2. We'll be happy to host you. Pat came the reply then, yes, I would like to come and experience this with you guys. And that was the icebreaker. And that sort of created a really great relationship with the person. So it was maybe he was not free to meet us, or he didn't know who we were, or he didn't get the download.
But it gave you a different angle.
It was a different angle.
Yeah.
It was a different angle. It was a kind of a lateral move, if you will, just to create an experience or create a sort of a neutral environment or an entertaining environment.
Like we're not going to talk work.
Yeah, we're not going to talk work. We're just going to sit and watch a movie together. And a movie that the whole of India at that point wanted to see.
Yeah.
And that worked. So marketing also plays a role in situations like that where, things are not really working out great, but you bring in a new energy into the mix.
Right.
And that sometimes helps the relationship to revive and to continue.
I wanted to ask you about campaigns that you've pulled off or that you've seen across, the spectrum. What have you seen in terms of campaigns that work in the post-purchase cycle of a customer? One is the very first example would be you'd already won the customer,
right?
But you weren't getting the renewal. Like the yearly contract had probably expired, and
there was a new decision maker who
wasn't entertaining you for whatever reason.
Yes.
So that's where the Katappa came in.
Right.
Tell me more.
Katappa helped us out. Yes. Thank you, Katappa. Yes.
Tell me more.
I work for this company called Pluralsight, which is a tech platform.
They're into developer education, right?
They're into developer education, tech education basically. And so for customers that had already bought us, we came up with this campaign called Skills Day. a lot of vendors do this vendor day, which is just about, a bunch of sessions where you go and
Where we want to thank you for your business.
Yeah. But what we did was we sort of flipped it around and we said that we'll celebrate skills development in your company. So what we did was we worked with the learning and development departments. We worked with the business decision makers to say, we want to celebrate skill development in your organization. We want to create a platform where your employees come. Let's say some of your best learners are honored. We also we can do some fun quizzes on the day and sort of make it a fun experience.
So this was an offline event, kind of like a symposium where you threw an invitation to all your customers.
It was one by one. It was a customer by customer. We went account by account.
Okay.
So it was dedicated to one account. So account X, we would plan the skills day 30 days in advance.
Okay, so we'll come do a skills day at your place, and it doesn't have to be on a fixed date. We can also alter the dates as per your convenience.
And many of these customers were really big. So we used to do skills days sometimes in different cities at the same time. Some of them were one location. Some of them within a city, there were multiple locations. Right?
Got it.
So what Skills Day was it wasn't about Pluralsight. It was about that customer and the employees of the customer who had, let's say, used this platform or some other platform to really upskill themselves. But most importantly, I think it created a platform for the company itself. It's like, you have a day dedicated to skilling.
Pluralsight comes at your office, organizes a skills day, and just goes back. There's like reinforcing that, okay, we're so into our mission.
It's like I said, it's not really about the company. It's about the customer.
Yeah.
The Skills Day is not about, and in fact, I don't think our brand name was even there. It was the customer's brand name. It was a customer Skills Day.
But
we were just
the decision makers knew that it's Pluralsight coming.
That is a kind of an association that builds up. But we were facilitators for something like that.
Got it.
And it worked really well because it helped us, it helped us to sort of reconnect with our users. Two, it helped companies to recognize top employees who are learning and all of that. Three, it just helped us to connect with a whole bunch of new people within the account who came on the day to speak and to address everyone. And I think every company out there, irrespective of the nature of your product or service, has the potential to do something like this. And in these troubled times, you can even do it virtually. It's not a big deal.
Tell me more. Tell me another campaign that you may have seen or pulled off yourself.
Well, I've seen a lot of good content marketing campaigns.
Tell me of your head.
Well, I think the Drift podcast.
David Cancel and David Gerhardt.
So Drift is such an innovative company that in the space of marketing, a lot of marketers actually look up to their innovativeness.
And as a result, it's been mentioned like at least 5 times on this podcast already.
I'm pretty sure.
But go ahead.
Yeah, for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Which means that there's a lot of value that they're adding. And even when we were starting our podcast at Gupshup, so we were looking for benchmark podcasts, and that podcast was one of the few.
Right up there.
So I feel that was a great campaign. And it's not a campaign in the sense you're actually putting out value out there. You're actually saying that I'm going to come on this platform and I'm just going to share my learnings. I'm going to share my insight with you. And that in itself is a great puller. So you don't have to call it a campaign. It falls into the realm of what people call as branded content, which is content or insight which is produced by a brand. Let's say a report that is educative, that is either co-created by a brand or sponsored by a brand, that is of some use to you. And you consume it and you find that it's valuable. And therefore, somewhere in your mind, you associate that value with the brand that has sponsored it. So I'm a big believer that branded content can, if you remove the word campaign, these are great assets for any brand to build that actually educate. So if your campaign educates somebody, then it has a much greater value than if your campaign just convinces somebody. And that's when you start coming into the circle of trust.
Got it. So the Katappa Day, let me, or I'll call it the Bahubali Day, where you threw tickets open to your entire customer base and
select customers.
Select customers, the key accounts.
Right.
Then the second one was the Skills Day. Third would be making branded content assets. Now something like these things, I won't say there is a framework for these things to come up with, to come up with a Katappa Day or a Skills Day and all these things. You can't think about these things basis of framework. This doesn't fall into any funnel. It's not something that you'll read about in books.
Yeah.
It's not conventional wisdom. How do you build a case for this? Or, since you're leading marketing at Gupshup, how do these wacky ideas, come out? You guys are a mature company and you guys, started in the digital era. You're not very old. So I understand how, agile things must be at your place. How do these ideas go up or go down the ladder? How do these ideas make sense to a bunch of people so as to get them together and execute it?
Well, that's a great question. I think the answer to that is it really depends on...
Because my problem with these things is you can't track it.
Well, I would disagree there, and I'll tell you why. So I think, first of all, I would say that the marketing orientation of a company is what someone needs to look at. So I would say different companies are differently oriented towards this word marketing.
Sure.
So some of them, and of course it's based on their own personal experiences, their own bias, whatever it is. So some companies really use marketing as a tip of the spear, and they feel that this will open up all doors, right? Mm-hmm. And that is where you have the maximum room for experimentation, for creativity. A little bit like what we're doing here. I think it's a great format that you've put together. It's very disarming, and a lot of people can come in, and it's a platform for others to come and share.
Right.
Now, let's say you took this idea to your CEO in a more conservative company. He's like, "What? Do I have to spend so much and set up a studio?" I know someone else spoke about it. So it really depends on the orientation, and that's one of the things. Like, if you want to be a professional marketer out there, I think that's what you need to gauge. The company that you join, like, how do they view marketing? And that's a great question that you can ask during an interview. Like, what is your view on marketing?
What's the right answer?
The answer is marketing is a part of everything that we do. It is not just one thing, one function, one activity. It's not just brand. It's not just demand gen. It's not just customer success. It's all encompassing, and it's a part of everything. So in a way, to be crude, I would say it's like the aloo that goes into every sabzi, right? So marketing is aloo. I would say marketing it's a thought. It's a way of thinking. And you can be a salesperson with a marketing orientation. You can be a customer support person.
It's a thought, but what's the line of thought? How do I think? Do I think about caring? Do I think about ROI? What do I think about?
The line of thought is, how do I create value for my customer? How do I take my customer, be with my customer on the journey that she is taking?
How do I be with my customer on a journey?
On the journey. How do I take my customer on the journey, or how can I partner with the customer on the journey that she's already on or wants to embark on? And that is the marketing concept or the marketing thought, which is not just limited to the function of marketing, but everybody in the company sort of does that or can do that. To answer your question on how does it work in reality? In reality, a lot of these ideas don't see the light of day. If the company... They're shot down because people they don't understand what is the value.
No, because it doesn't make sense. My creativity won't make sense to you. Your creativity won't make sense to you. If you tell me that, hey, we're a conversational messaging company, but we're gonna host a Katappa day.
Yeah,
I'll be like,
what does one have to do with the other? Could be a question.
Give me relation, draw some lines.
Yeah, but thankfully I haven't faced that situation here, but I know a lot of people who do. Like
I can imagine multiple people would.
Yeah. So it's really about how oriented your company is to have the marketing thought and the marketing concept. And then secondly, it's also about how much room you have to experiment and be creative. So sometimes it's only the objective that matters, but how you get there. Like this is what I tell my team as well. Like the goal is there, like we've defined the goals, but you have freedom in how you want to innovate. Please come and give me ideas. Like I don't want to be the idea generator of the team. And challenge my ideas. I have no problem. So in those environments as well, like that's the only reason I was able to do something like a couple of examples I gave you was because that level of freedom was there. So that's really important. If you want creativity to flow in this particular function, particularly in this function, I think there has to be that environment of creativity and freedom that you give them. That just go try it out. And if you want to fail fast, and then we move to something else. But again, I don't want people listening to this to take away. This is another problem that happens with marketing. Right?
Yeah.
They think marketing is an item number. Right?
It's an item number.
It's not an item number, right? It's the whole movie, right? It's not an item number. It is the
you put it out there so that people watch trailer more and more. And that's when they go get to know about the entire movie.
Exactly.
Okay.
This is not an item number that you come and you get a few laughs and do a few things and then you disappear. So now I'm wondering why I brought up Katappa. But anyway, it's fun. It's a fun story, but it was a part of a much larger framework.
Right.
And these sort of things come up when you these sparks, so if you will, come up when you go through this journey with the customer. But again, what I would like to say is that going back to marketing orientation and all of that, marketing is not about just creating these moments, although it's part of your job. It is a much larger responsibility that you have in partnership with various other people in your company. Once again, take the customer on that journey, right? And always be with that customer.
Fantastic. This is a good one. Thank you so much, Srini.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.